Hey fantasy fans, welcome back. It's Dan here with Treebeard Book Reviews. And as you guys know, Discworld is my favorite series of all time. But the sad thing about Discworld, with the loss of Sir Terry Pratchett, is we're never going to get any more Discworld. Or are we? Welcome back, and I want to talk about an amazing technology called ChatGPT. Which is an AI language model developed by OpenAI. One of the most interesting things about ChatGPT is its ability to write like dead authors. I think it's absolutely remarkable. So ChatGPT is a language model that has been trained on a vast amount of text data. They use that data to understand and generate human-like responses. This technology is a wide range of applications from, creating chatbots to customer service and as well as creative writing. How can AI write like dead authors? Well, one of the most impressive features of ChatGPT is its ability to write like dead authors. This means that the AI can generate text that is stylistically similar to famous writers such as William Shakespeare, Jane Austen, and Terry Pratchett. The model has been trained on a massive amount of literature, allowing it to mimic the unique style, tone, vocabulary of the writers we love. For example, it could be used to generate content for a course, to create literature courses based on a certain author, or to do some literary analysis. It could also be used to create totally new works to mimic the style and of the particular author, generate content, based on their language. What's even more impressive too is that ChatGPT just wrote that whole script. It's really powerful. It has, I put in some keywords that I wanted it to say, and it did it, and it made this whole script. So what have I done? I have got ChatGPT to write me some new Discworld stories. Sadly, Terry Pratchett has passed away, but can that stop us? So I thought, well, why don't I make up some Discworld things that I would like to have seen? So I've created 3 Discworld stories using ChatGPT, and I hope you enjoy them. They're a lot of fun. Some are actually a bit more emotional than I thought they would be. And I'm going to stick around to the end, kind of hear my final thoughts, what you think to these Discworld stories.
Commander Samuel Vimes strode through the streets of Ankh-Morpork, his eyes sharp and his senses alert. As the head of the city watch, he knew that danger lurked around every corner, and he was always ready to face it head-on. But today, he had an unexpected companion. Nanny, he said, his voice gruff as he glanced over at the older woman walking beside him. "What are you doing here?" Nanny grinned up at him, her eyes twinkling with mischief.
"Oh, just thought I'd come along for the ride, Sam," she said, her voice lilting with a hint of a country accent. "I heard there was a bit of trouble brewing in the city, and I figured you could use an extra pair of hands."
Sam Vimes rolled his eyes. He had known Nanny for years, and he knew that she was always looking for a good adventure. But he couldn't deny that she was a force to be reckoned with. "Well, you'd better keep up, then," he said, quickening his pace as they approached a busy marketplace. "Things are about to get interesting." Sure enough, as they entered the marketplace, they could see that chaos had erupted. A group of trolls had begun to brawl with a group of dwarfs, their anger simmering over some perceived slight. Sam Vimes drew his sword, ready to intervene, but Nanny held up a hand.
"Leave this to me, Sam," she said, her eyes glinting with determination.
Before Sam could protest, Nanny began to sing. Her voice was clear and strong, rising above the shouts and clanging swords of the fighting trolls and dwarfs. As she sang, a strange thing began to happen. The trolls and dwarfs, caught up in the music, began to slow their fighting. They swayed back and forth, caught up in the rhythm of Nanny song. Sam Vimes watched in amazement as the fighting came to a complete stop. Nanny finished her song with a flourish, and the trolls and dwarfs looked at each other in confusion, as if wondering how they had ended up fighting in the first place. Sam Vimes sheathed his sword, his eyes wide with amazement. "Nanny, he said, his voice full of respect. "I don't know how you do it."
Nanny just smiled, patting him on the arm. "It's all in the music, Sam," she said, as they made their way out of the marketplace. all in the music.
Well, wasn't that a lot of fun? It would have been nice to see Nanny sing, the hedgehog cannot be buggered, or a wizard's staff has a knob on the end. That would have been funny. But, ChatGPT is limited by, its power to generate these type of stories. So the next one is a conversation between two animals in the Discworld, which is Grebo and Gaspode.
Grebo, the notorious and fearsome cat of the Discworld, strolled through the alleyways of Ankh-Morpork with a purposeful gait. As he rounded a corner, he came face to face with Gaspode, the talking dog. Well, Grebo drawled, eyeing Gaspode with disdain. If it isn't the mutt, what brings you to my territory?
Gaspode bristled, but held his ground. I could ask you the same thing, cat, he said. I've got a job to do, and it doesn't involve getting into a brawl with you.
Grebo snorted. Typical, he said, always running away from a good fight. But I'm not here for a brawl, mutt. I'm on a mission of my own.
Gaspode raised an eyebrow. Oh really, he said. And what might that be?
Grebo bared his teeth in a feral grin. I'm hunting rats, he said, and I've got a score to settle with the biggest, baddest rat in this part of town.
Gaspode's eyes widened in surprise. The Rat King, he said. You're going after him? That's a dangerous game, even for a cat like you.
Grebo merely flicked his tail in response. I can handle myself, he said. But if you're so concerned, why don't you tag along? 2 sets of teeth are better than 1, after all.
Gaspode hesitated for a moment, then nodded. All right, he said. I'll come with you. But on one condition, you owe me a favor.
Grebo rolled his eyes. Fine, he said, just keep up, mutt. And with that, the unlikely pair set off into the night, their eyes peeled for any sign of the Rat King. Despite their differences, Grebo and Gaspode worked surprisingly well together, their instincts and senses complementing each other as they hunted for their prey. And though they never quite caught up with the Rat King, they shared a sense of camaraderie and respect for each other that neither of them had expected.
So this one was a lot of fun. I really like Grebo and Gaspode. I don't know if it captured the true essence of both the characters here, but it was still a lot of fun. I really like how ChatGPT was able to kind of incorporate the two together in this world, in Ankh-Morpork, and get them to go on an adventure together. That would be fun. I would have loved to have seen a Gaspode and Grebo adventure. And so lastly, I had ChatGPT simulate or create a conversation, Samuel Vimes passing away and meeting death.
Commander Samuel Vimes lay on his deathbed, his eyes closed and his breathing shallow. His wife, Lady Sybil, sat beside him, holding his hand and trying to keep her tears at bay. It had been a long and eventful life, but now it was coming to an end. As his breaths grew more and more labored, Samuel Vimes felt a strange sensation wash over him. It was as if he was being pulled, slowly but surely, away from his body. And then, suddenly, he was standing in a dark and misty place, facing a figure in a black robe.
Commander Vimes, the figure said, its voice deep and echoing. Welcome.
Samuel Vimes looked up at the figure, recognizing it instantly. Death, he said, his voice steady despite his surprise. I suppose this was inevitable. Death inclined its head.
Indeed, it said. But do not fear, Commander. I am not here to claim your soul. Merely to offer some guidance.
Samuel Vimes raised an eyebrow. Guidance? Death nodded.
You see, Commander, you have lived a life full of action and adventure. You have faced danger and risked your life time and time again. But now, you must face your final challenge. You must let go.
Samuel Vimes looked down at his hands, feeling a sense of loss wash over him. He had always been a man of action, a man who never shied away from a fight. But now, it seemed, his time had come. I understand, he said, his voice low. But what of my family? My wife? Death leaned forward, its eyes gleaming in the darkness.
Do not worry, Commander, it said. Your wife will be taken care of. And as for you, well, I think you will find that the afterlife has its own kind of adventure in store for you.
Samuel Vimes nodded slowly, feeling a sense of acceptance wash over him. He looked up at Death, and then, without a word, he took its hand. Together, they stepped into the darkness, ready to face whatever lay ahead.
All right, so that one was pretty emotional. This one almost got me. It almost broke me because this is not something you see in the Discworld. Terry never got an opportunity to write this, and it was emotional. It was just emotional that a machine could write this. So let's kind of get on to is this perfect? No, this is not perfect. This is not Terry Pratchett. We know it's not. It's clearly missing some of that humanity of Terry Pratchett, that the humor, the quippiness. But I think for, you know, just to have fun, it's done a decent job to create some stories with characters I like. I mean, obviously, it's never going to replace the Discworld for me. But you know what? I think it's a nice way to imagine, and just, you know, the power of AI. And, you know, we're just really at the cusp of what AI can do and what can it do in the future. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun, and you know, share down below if you've used ChatGPT. What are the author combinations you'd like to try, or have authors write certain things? So I played around with so many things on, you know, write The Hobbit in the prose of Terry Pratchett. So I did a lot of silly stuff like that. So, you know, test it out. Let me know what you guys think. Comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this, and we'll check you out on the next one. Cheers.
Thank you to my patrons for supporting the channel and making it the best it can be.